Renders are high-quality images that represent how the 3D model will look like in real life. These photorealistic images can be reviewed and shared by consumers and can include a company logo as well. SOLIDWORKS Sell allows your consumers to configure several product choices and capture them as visual bookmarks with the camera strip. Once captured, a thumbnail appears and bookmarks the exact configuration of the model. This way, as the display changes and I click on the image again, it reverts back to what is shown. On the other hand, capturing this image with the camera button also produces a high-quality render of the model that can be viewed by clicking the book icon in the lower right-hand corner of the thumbnail. This template's render settings are set to defaults, and to change them, I'm going to go back to the template's backend editor and go to the Renders tab. Here, you can change the size, lighting, and watermark for the image that is created. First off is the Optimize Models for Rendering button. This should be pressed when you are satisfied with how the dynamic model looks and are finished editing the textures and UV coordinates. Next, we'll move on to the configurable settings for the captured renders. As a default, the size of the image is set to the same aspect ratio of the 3D viewport. This keeps the height of the image locks so it maintains the ratio. When this setting is unchecked, the user is allowed to change the width and the height of the image. Larger images are recommended so that the consumer can see the detail of the render, and are especially useful for small models like this ring. I will change the width to be 1250, with the aspect ratio still set so that the height changes automatically. To see the changes I've made, I can click the camera button to capture a rendered image and load the preview when it is complete. As you can see, this new render that we just took is much larger than the one we had previously. When a render is captured in the Renders tab, it becomes saved to the template and shown in the camera strip whenever the consumer-facing page is loaded. These images will be there despite who opens it or where it is opened from. This is a way to show all consumers several impressive configurations and provides a curated experience. These images are different than the images that can be taken on the consumer-facing page like this preview. Those images are saved locally and will not show up if someone else accesses the page from a different computer. That way, each consumer will be able to have their own bookmark configurations that only they can see. Going back to the Renders tab, I'm going to discuss adding a watermark image. This is where you can add a company logo to your renders so that your name is tied to the render that is created. To add a watermark, select the camera closer to the top of the screen and select the image from your directory. Now when another render is captured, your watermark is going to show up at the top left of the image. You can change the location of the image by editing the watermark offset top and left options. Another setting you can edit is the opacity of the watermark, and you can do so with this slider. This changes how translucent your watermark is on the image. To see the changes again, I'm going to capture another render and compare it. Another setting you can change is the background color. This may be useful if the model is very light and hard to see with a white background. To change it, you select the color button and select the color you want from the menu. Additionally, there is an instance count setting. As a default, this is set to 200, which is recommended for good quality images. However, if you want to decrease the time it takes for the render to process, you can change it to a lower value and still get a good picture. Lastly, you can also change the scene of the render. This changes the lighting of the picture and can be set to default, bright, or studio. Here you can see the difference between each setting. In this case, the bright setting is not well suited for the ring because it is extremely reflective and shiny, but looks better for the chair model as it is not as reflective and dark. Now, with these settings in place, you can set up some sample configurations that show off your product to your consumers.